Let's bang it out here. We were
Baltimore
talking about
Ratbirds.
the Baltimore Ratbirds, or Ravens, as most people say. So yeah, they were 13-4 last year. Pretty solid record there. The best record in the NFL, actually. A lot of losses. Let's go through them. A lot of losses. We'll see how much, not as much additions. We'll see how much that really changes things. So let's look here. Tyler Huntley, he's been a backup for a while. He's obviously played. Will Lamar get COVID again this year? Who knows? He might miss some time. Their whole running back room, they told him get the fuck out. All of those are out. Most of them are in LA with the Chargers. Odell Beckham Jr. went over to Miami, took his talents to South Beach. Morgus Moses is gone. I think he's on the Jets now. Yep. Kevin Zeitler is gone. He's on the Lions?
Lions, yep.
Jadeveon Clowney, gone. Patrick Queen's on the Lurs. And a couple cornerbacks in Darby and Rock Ya-Sin. Additions, some big names. Derrick Henry, the king of the end zone, has returned. He is now not really returned, but the king is in Baltimore, taking his talents to Baltimore. Kyle Van Noy, long productive journeyman, but a journeyman. And then cornerback Nate Wiggins and offensive tackle Roger Rosengarten from that very good Washington Huskies offensive line. So quick takeaways for these Ravens here. What are you thinking?
Yeah, like you said, they basically bounced all of their starting running backs, if you will. They brought Dalvin Cook in, got a couple carries here and there over the last couple weeks, but J.K. Dobbins gave up on him out of the Ohio State University, and then Gus Edwards, who was a touchdown machine last year. Both of them are out in L.A. at this point. Obviously, you lose offensive tackle Morgan Moses. You bring in a fresh rookie out of University of Washington. I think they got in the second round. And then you do lose a couple fairly key pieces on defense in Clowney and Patrick Queen. I love that Patrick Queen is now in Pittsburgh and not in Baltimore. But you do bring in Kyle Van Noy to kind of fill Clowney's spot as a pass rusher. So I think the big thing with the Ravens, obviously, is the signing of Derrick Henry. And I don't know necessarily why, and I'll talk about this a little bit, I guess, now. Why everybody's saying this might be the best backfield in the history of the NFL, with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson both being back there. Yes, they're both absolute game-changing studs. But do their games mesh?
Yeah.
I don't know. Lamar is a prototypical shotgun quarterback.
Exactly.
He wants space. He wants the ball in his hand without people around him, so that he can make those reads and do what he does best in terms of running the football. Derrick Henry wants to be moving straight towards the offensive line and pull over people, right?
Yep.
And you're not going to be able to do that out of the shotgun. Maybe put him in the pistol, but at the end of the day, I don't know if he's going to be that dude in Baltimore. Yes, he's going to be the guy up around the goal line now that Lamar, I guess, kind of has been. But outside of that, I don't know if I'm super high on that signing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I think that's a beautiful point, man. Schematically, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Derrick Henry at his best is a north and south runner. Yep. To go out of the shotgun and have everything start east and west and not have that run up, how do you stop a monster in the backfield? You get him going east and west, right? You don't let him pick up that momentum. Now, the only thing I'll say, because we saw it in the past couple of years in Tennessee, is that the Tennessee Titans offensive line is one of the worst in the NFL. The Baltimore Ravens offensive line is one of the best in the NFL.
They have been, but you bring in a fresh rookie right tackle, right?
That's true.
I don't know if that's necessarily the same offensive line. Obviously, still probably has some talent around it, but
that's a really good point.
Uh-oh. There he is. Maybe.
We back? 3 for 3?
There he is. Yes. Hello? Seb?
I'm here. Holy shit. All right, why not one more time?
We need some editing.
We made it through 7 out of 8 division previews. Pretty fucking smooth. And of course, here we go as we get to the last team, the 32nd out of 32 teams that we've talked to and breaking down. And the ship is, you know what it is? It's corporate gambling. They're sending in, we heard about Microsoft being down. They're trying to take out the big guns. You take down the airlines, you take down the railroads, you take down the
healthcare, you take down everything, basically.
We're not dumbing. Hey, we're not laying down. We're fighting through it. All right, folks. Let's talk about these injuries here real quick, and then let's get over to the fantasy in action and get the hell out of here. All right, Keaton Mitchell, young running back, ACL tear, only 8.5 months of recovery there. That tells me I probably want nothing to do with a guy who's likely going to be a change of pace guy. Any difference there? Someone you take a stab on or staying away?
Nope, I'm staying away from that one.
Yep. David Ajabo, a guy out of Michigan who's just not been able to get going. He was coming off an Achilles tear last year, and boom, right in the start of the season, ACL tear. It's just brutal. I hate it when guys' careers start off this way. So 11.5 months of recovery for a 10 to 12 month recovery timeline expected. So, a guy that is hard to be optimistic on. Hopefully later half of the season he can get going. What are your thoughts there?
Completely agree. I mean, it's basically J.K. Dobbins in reverse.
Yep, exactly.
It's just tough.
That sucks, yeah. And then Mark Andrews, he was almost coming back if they were in the Super Bowl. I think he does play, and I think he did play that last game, but, obviously not himself.
He suited up.
Coming off a high ankle and fibula fracture, that's, a 3 to 4 month injury, 2 to 3, whatever. He's got 9.5 months. He should be perfectly fine. And then Kyle Hamilton picked up, he had an elbow surgery only a month ago, really, in June 11th. But they had a loose body in there. They took it out. Only 2 to 3 weeks. He's got 4 months to the season. I would expect him to be back, if not for training camp, pretty shortly after. So a couple guys in Mitchell and Ajabo who it's hard to be optimistic. And then Andrews and Hamilton, the complete opposite, where they should be ready to roll for training camp and for week 1.
Yep.
Let's head over to fantasy. We're going to talk about a couple guys, and that's Mark Andrews at tight end number 4 and Derrick Henry at RB10. Is that where you think these guys should be going? Is that too high, too low? What do you think?
I think Mark Andrews is in for a big year, to be honest with you. I think, he started off very productive last year and then had the fractured fibula.
Yep, high ankle and fibula.
That's right. So yeah, I think he is probably where he needs to be, if not a little bit low, to be honest with you, even at tight end 4. And then Derrick Henry is a tough one. Like I was saying, I'm not entirely sure about this situation, if it's going to be the most productive for Derrick Henry in terms of yards, but I think he's going to be that goal line presence. Like, I think he's going to get the lion's share of the carries there and eat up yards and touchdowns. So he's probably in the right atmosphere at that RB10, just because I think he's going to score 12, 15 touchdowns this season.
Yeah, no, I agree. We talked about it offline, but the yards, it might be tough, but I think the touchdowns will get them there as well. All right. Is it me on the best bets?
Roll with it. Yep. Go for it.
Yeah. All right. My best bets for your 2024 Baltimore Ravens. I'm starting off with a defensive prop, because that is right, folks. We talk about real football. We talk about the defense on this show. And give me Justin Matabuke over 9.25 sacks at +120. He cleared this very easily last year at 13. Now, he was kind of a guy who, he was 2 and then 5, and then, he kind of popped, right? I just think this is a really good secondary. I think that quarterbacks are going to be forced to hold the ball against them. I think that, I'm really big on Kyle Hamilton. I'm really big on Brandon Stevens. I'm really rated on Marlon Humphrey if he can ever stay on the fucking field. But I like their defensive line as well. I just think Matabuke is one of those rare defensive tackles who has production from inside pressure. And, you're going to have, obviously, Venoy, Adafe Owe showed some good flashes off the edge. And I think those pockets are going to collapse. And I think Matabuke is going to pick up a lot of sacks this year. Another guy who Derek just talked about, Mark Andrews, man. I think he's their wide receiver 1. I think, with Zay Flowers coming in, I think people have kind of forgotten that. But if you look outside of Zay Flowers, I'm not really afraid of Rashad Bateman and Nelson Aguilar taking away targets from Mark Andrews. So give me his over 800.5 receiving yards at plus 100 there. Before his injury last year, he hit this in 2 consecutive years. I think he is Lamar's favorite target, and I think we're going to see Mark Andrews have a typical Mark Andrews year. I know a lot of people are writing him off, but that is not what I'm doing here. And then you might want to close your ears from this one, but the Baltimore Ravens win games. You were trying to tell me something about Goldilocks and Trevor Lawrence winning games. Lamar Jackson wins games in the regular season. So I will take the Baltimore, not against the Steelers, but I will take the Baltimore Ravens to be the number 1 seed in the AFC East. They were last year. I think this team did not lose a whole bunch. I'm optimistic with healthy Mark Andrews. We'll see about the Derrick Henry thing, but I think they just win games. I see another 12 or 13 win season. So give me the number 1 seed at plus 500 for Baltimore. What do you got on your side?
A few things. So I kind of went a different direction with Andrews. Like we both, I think, are agreeing here. I think he's in for a big year. I went with his over in terms of touchdowns. The number's only 6.5. He hit 6 touchdowns in 10 games last year. And then he had the ankle injury. So I don't see, unless there's another injury situation, how he doesn't get over 6.5 touchdowns. And that's being listed at plus 110 right now.
Okay.
I already talked about how I liked Derrick Henry's touchdown over rushing yards. So I think he's going to go under 1,000 yards for the first time in a while. So his number's at 975. I like the under at minus 110. But at the end of the day, I do think Baltimore gets in the end zone on the ground a lot, like a shit ton. So at 10-1, I like Baltimore to get at least 1 rushing touchdown every single game in the regular season. I think the only time they didn't do this last year.
Yeah, I'm thinking, what did they do last
year? I mean, their 4 losses last year were against Indy, where they scored 19 points in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, 2 against the Steelers, where they scored 10 points a game, and then at Cleveland, in Baltimore against Cleveland, where they scored 31. Yeah. So they're putting up points. The only times that they didn't score at least 20 points were against the Steelers twice and against Indy in overtime. I think those were mostly flukes in terms of the Indy game. The Steelers just kind of have their number, but those are always hard fought games. And at 10-1, I'll throw a little change on that.
You're gonna have to be rooting against your Steelers there for a little bit to cast the 10-1, maybe. Nope. Let them in once. That's it. That's right. There you go. So I do like that.
I have confidence in Justin Fields and Russ to put up more than 1 touchdown. So we're good.
More than 10 points. I hope so. It's gonna be a long year in the city of Pittsburgh.